My beloved one, as the sun stretches her golden arms across the quiet sky of this November morning, I greet you with a heart full of thanksgiving and a soul ready to rise. Today is no ordinary dawn. This is the 30th day of November, the last breath of this month. The final chapter before December whispers its arrival. And the Lord, in his gentle but powerful voice, has placed a message deep within my spirit. A prayer he has instructed me to speak over your life, your home, your mind, your future. So come closer, sit with me for a moment, and let your heart listen. The invitation to rise. You may have walked through November with questions on your back and burdens in your hands. You may have crossed valleys that felt too dark, or stood before mountains that felt too tall. But hear me when I say, you made it to the last sunrise of this month. And that, my dear, is a kind of miracle all by itself. So lift your chin, straighten your shoulders. Let the wind of this morning wrap around you like the shawl of a loving grandmother. Because today, God is not simply watching you, he is speaking to you. On this November 30th morning, the air feels different, as if the sky itself is pausing to take a gentle breath. There is a hush, a sacred silence that does not come with every sunrise. It is the quiet hush of completion, of pages turning, of a month giving its final bow before stepping aside. And child, there is something holy about that, something tender, something ancient, something that reminds us that life, your life, my life, all life, is not simply a straight road, but a series of seasons, chapters, and endings that make room for beginnings. To stand in the doorway of the final day of a month is to stand in a place where the old is exhaling and the new is inhaling. It is the meeting point of what has been and what will be. So many people rush past days like this. They hurry through the calendar, they rush through time like it is an enemy chasing them rather than a companion guiding them. But you, my dear heart, you are invited to slow down this morning, to listen, to notice, to honor the sacredness of this date. For November has carried you, whether gently or roughly, through its maze of moments. Perhaps you laughed this month. Perhaps you cried. Perhaps your body grew weary or your heart grew heavy. Perhaps you fought battles no one else saw. Perhaps you held on to faith with fingertips trembling, but still you held on. And here you are, standing on the last step of this month, with all its echoes behind you. That alone is a reason to whisper gratitude. Because the end of a month is not simply a date on a calendar. It is a threshold. And God, who sees the footsteps of sparrows and hears the sighs of weary souls, watches you step across it. He watches with the eyes of a father who knows how far you've come, even when you yourself do not realize the distance. He knows the nights you laid awake, wrestling with thoughts too loud for your pillow. He knows the mornings you rose before strength was ready to rise with you. He knows the disappointments you swallowed quietly and the prayers you whispered earnestly. He knows it all. And today, on this last day, is his way of saying, I saw you, I kept you, I carried you farther than you knew. You see, the last day of anything carries a weight. It is the weight of reflection. It is the weight of grace. It is the weight of decisions made and decisions delayed. But it is also the weight of divine permission, permission to let go, permission to release, permission to exhale everything you have been holding. Today is a spiritual doorway, and God allows you to walk through it without the burdens that tried to chain themselves to your ankles all month long. Think of a river, child. The river does not fear its end. It flows toward it. It embraces it. Because the river knows that its ending is simply its beginning in another place, another form. On this last day of November, you too are like that river. You too are flowing into something new, even if you cannot yet see the horizon. This day is not calling you to fear the ending, but to honor it. And there is a particular beauty in endings. A beauty not loud or showy. A beauty not born of fireworks or fanfare. Instead, it is a beauty quiet and steadfast, like the closing of a well-loved book, or the final note of a song that lingers even after the sound has faded. This day carries that beauty. But child, this day is more than beautiful. It is prophetic. It is deliberate. It is aligned. Because the final day of a month is a place God often meets us with clarity. He removes the noise. He closes certain doors. He ends certain struggles. He hushes certain storms. For God is a God of order, and He knows how to bring things to completion. The world may leave your chapters half-written, half-healed, half-understood, but God finishes things. He is the author who never puts down the pen before the sentence is complete. And here you are standing on the comma between November and December, the sacred pause before the story continues. Now I want you to understand something deep, something that breathes from soul to soul. The last day is not a leftover. It is not an afterthought. It is not a scrap of time tossed to you unwillingly. No, no, my dear one. It is an appointed moment, a divine setting, a day where heaven leans close and earth quiets down so your spirit can hear what it could not hear before. For on days like this, the heart becomes tender, the spirit becomes reflective, the soul becomes open, and God knows it. That is why He speaks on days like this with a tone soft enough to soothe but strong enough to transform. This morning carries a whisper. You have made it here, and because you made it here, you will make it forward. Perhaps you look back on November and see mistakes. Let today be your amnesty. Perhaps you look back and see scars. Let today be your healing balm. Perhaps you look back and see missed opportunities. Let today be your new beginning. For the sacredness of November 30th lies in its dual nature. It is both an ending and a preparation, a closure and a clearing, a farewell and a welcome. And God in His infinite wisdom uses endings to strengthen you. He knows that a chapter closed too soon would leave you unprepared, and a chapter left open too long would leave you exhausted. So He chooses the timing with the precision of a poet and the compassion of a mother. Look around you this morning. The sky is not rushing. The earth is not panicked. Nature knows how to end a season gently, and so should you. Let November finish its sentence in your life without clinging to its punctuation. Let this day, this holy final day, be one of surrender and of peace. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine every worry of November slipping off your shoulders like a cloak you no longer need. Imagine every fear fading the way night fades before dawn. Imagine every unanswered question being handed to God like a letter finally placed in the right hands. That, child, is what today is for. Not for mourning the days behind you. Not for racing into the days ahead, but for honoring the thin, precious line between the two. And as you stand on that line, know this. God is not just beside you. He is before you and behind you and within you. He blesses your ending, so He can bless your beginnings. He blesses your last days, so He can bless your first ones. He blesses November, so December can overflow. This is the sacredness of November 30th, the quiet miracle of making it, the holy reverence of closing a chapter, the grace-filled pause before stepping into the next one. And you, dear heart, are standing in the center of that sacred moment, whole, held, and ready. There are moments in life, child, when the air around you shifts ever so slightly yet unmistakably, because God Himself has leaned close enough to speak. Not in thunder, not in the tremble of the mountains, not in the shaking of the earth, but in that soulful whisper that settles somewhere between your heartbeat and your breath. That is the kind of message this morning carries. A message not born of coincidence or happenstance, but one delivered straight from the throne of heaven to the quiet chambers of your spirit. For God does not always shout. He does not always wave His arms wildly like a desperate messenger needing to be heard. No, the Almighty often speaks with the confidence of one who knows His voice can reach you without force. He speaks to the listening heart, the open soul, the weary traveler whose spirit has become tender after walking through November's storms. And today, on this last day of the month, His voice has come with purpose, with intention, with a knowing. It is not every day that God gives a message tied to a specific moment in time. But today is one of those rare, sacred mornings where heaven aligns with the quiet of the earth, and the Father's voice finds you right where you stand. He has placed a prayer, yes, child, a deliberate prayer, deep within the well of your being, instructing you not merely to speak, but to receive, to feel, and to carry it into the next chapter of your journey. This is not a prayer pulled from memory, not a phrase borrowed from tradition, not a word recycled from yesterday. It is a fresh word, a fresh breath, a fresh pour of divine intention upon your life. When God gives a message like this, He gives it because He knows something you do not know. He sees something you cannot yet see. He prepares something you cannot yet imagine. He has watched you walk through the corridors of this month, sometimes steady, sometimes stumbling, sometimes strong, sometimes exhausted. He has seen the tears that you wiped away before anyone else could notice. He has counted the nights when sleep hid from your eyes. He has witnessed the silent prayers, the ones you did not dare speak aloud for fear they might shatter under the weight of their own longing. And because He has seen all that, He has come today with a word that is specific, intentional, and meant only for you. There is something profoundly tender about a God who decides to speak to you specifically on this date. November 30th. It is as if He waited until you arrived at this threshold, until you weathered the month fully, until you were ready to hear not just with your ears but with your soul. God is a God of timing, and He speaks when the heart is soft enough to receive and the spirit open enough to understand. This morning's message is not just a prayer. It is a recognition, a divine acknowledgement that you have reached a point where heaven must intervene, must speak, must place spiritual balm upon the bruises of your month. God has whispered to the depths of your being, say this prayer, release this word, let this truth flow. And such a whisper is nothing less than a gift. Because when God speaks, He does not speak to fill space. When He speaks to fill you. He speaks to steady your trembling places, to comfort your weary corners, to lift your bowed head, to remind you that you, dear one, are held in a love too mighty to be shaken. His message today is wrapped in reassurance, in strength, in clarity, in divine timing. He does not speak before you are ready, nor does He remain silent when your spirit reaches a crossroads. You, standing here on this last day of the month, are in that space between farewell and beginning. And God has chosen this very moment to deliver a message that carries the power to shift your direction, renew your hope, and open your eyes to the truth that you have never walked alone. This message, this prayer, is not simply a collection of words. It is a spiritual key, a key that unlocks the doors of possibility, a key that seals the doors of harm, a key that brings to light the things you need to see as you prepare to walk into the next month. For God knows that December has its own battles, its own blessings, its own divine appointments. So He gives you this prayer now, not later, not after you stumble, not after you break, but now before the next chapter unfolds. Because He is preparing you, arming you, strengthening you. It is a divine strategy, child. Heaven's own preparation. Do you think great generals send their soldiers into the battlefield unprepared? Certainly not. They speak into their spirits. They give instructions. They offer words that fortify the heart. In the same way, God has chosen this morning to give you His instruction, not to burden you, but to empower you. And such a message is not random. It is not accidental. It is a spiritual appointment, a sacred meeting, a holy visitation. God has whispered, say this prayer, because He knows the power prayer holds when aligned with His will. This prayer is anointed with purpose, purpose to heal, purpose to protect, purpose to close the wounds of November and open the doors of December. It is a prayer that resets the atmosphere around you, a prayer that clears the spiritual debris from your path, a prayer that calls your strength forward even if it has been hiding beneath fatigue, a prayer that draws God close, so close you can feel His breath upon your hopes. When God gives a specific message, He is not only speaking to your present moment, He is speaking to your past hurts and your future blessings. He is untying the knots that held you back. He is loosening the chains that wrapped around your joy. He is preparing the soil for seeds he intends to plant. He is saying, I know what you need before December arrives. He is saying, I will not let you face the next month with the weight of this one. He is saying, I have a word that will carry you farther than your tears ever could. So do not take this lightly, dear heart. Do not let this morning pass as though it were just another day. God has chosen to speak to you not because you are perfect, but because you are His. Not because you have done everything right, but because He loves you too deeply to remain silent. He has given you a prayer to declare, a word to embrace, a divine whisper to hold close to your chest. For when God speaks a direct message, He is not informing you. He is transforming you. He is drawing you into alignment. He is pulling you into purpose. He is preparing you for the blessings that require a stronger, steadier, more spiritually awakened version of yourself. And that, my dear one, is the beauty of a God-given message. It comes not when you demand it, but when heaven decides you are ready. And today heaven has spoken your name. There is a quiet kind of triumph that lives inside the simple act of reaching the end of a month. It is not loud. It does not require applause. It does not demand that anyone else notice or acknowledge it. It simply stands there in the humble stillness of your spirit, whispering, you made it. And sometimes, child, that whisper carries more weight than any shout of victory you have ever known. For November, with all its winding roads and unanticipated turns, has brought you here to its final day. And whether you arrived with your head held high or your shoulders heavy, you arrived. Whether you came walking, crawling, limping, or standing strong, you arrived. And that is a miracle wrapped not in thunder but in grace. There are mornings when the sun rises just to let you know that endurance is its own kind of prayer, that survival is its own kind of strength. And today is such a morning. Today, November 30th, stands before you like a gentle guardian saying, look at all you have lived through. Look at all you have overcome. Do not rush past that. Do not minimize it. Do not tell yourself it was nothing. Only God and your soul know the full weight of what this month required from you. Only He knows the nights you whispered prayers through tears. Only He knows the conversations you swallowed because you lacked the energy to explain your hurt. Only He knows the burdens you carried quietly, the battles you fought privately, the storms you withstood silently. Sometimes people imagine miracles as great supernatural spectacles, waters parting, mountains trembling, angels descending. But the truest miracles often occur in the folds of ordinary days. The miracle is in the breath you didn't think you had the strength to take. The miracle is in the courage you held on to when fear tried to swallow you whole. The miracle is in the hope that flickered but never went out, even when the winds of life blew hard and heavy. You lived through November, and that alone is holy. Think of all the people who started this month with you but are not standing where you stand. Some grew weary and gave up on their dreams. Some lost battles you know nothing about. Some slipped into despair. Some lost themselves in the shadows of their own hardships. But you held on. You persevered, you pressed forward, sometimes with trembling steps, sometimes with trembling hands, but always with a heart that refused to surrender. And so on this final morning, gratitude becomes more than a polite gesture. It becomes a posture, a lifting of the soul, a recognition that your strength did not come from your own might, but from God holding you up like a mother holds a child learning to walk. He steadied you, He shielded you. He whispered into your weary corners, keep going, child, keep going. Gratitude on the last day of the month is not about pretending everything was perfect. It is about acknowledging that even in the imperfections you were protected. Even in the storms you were sheltered. Even in the confusion you were guided. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it sanctifies endurance. November may have been a month of contradictions. Joy mixed with sorrow. Clarity mixed with confusion. Faith mixed with fear. But you made it here to the final day, and that makes November not just a month you survived, but a chapter that strengthened you. Pause for a moment. Lay your hand over your heart. Feel it beating steadily beneath your palm. That rhythm is the sound of grace. That pulse is the signature of survival. That quiet thump-thump is a testimony that the light inside you refused to go out. You may not have received every answer you prayed for this month. You may not have reached every goal you set. You may not have experienced the breakthroughs you hoped would come by now. But what you did receive, what you did accomplish, what you did endure, these things matter more than you know. God carried you through the kind of days that could have shattered you. He held your mind together when worry pressed down like 1,000 stones. He kept your heart soft when disappointment threatened to harden it. He protected your spirit when life tried to drain it. He wrapped you in mercy when you faltered. And here you are standing at the doorway of a new month victorious, not because everything went right, but because nothing could keep you from rising again and again. There is something sacred about reaching the end of a month with your faith still intact. Something beautiful about looking back and seeing not perfection but perseverance. Something powerful about understanding that every breath you breathe today is a breath God allowed you to reach. Do not let anyone make you feel that survival is small. Do not let your own thoughts diminish what your soul endured. Do not let the world convince you that only big victories count. Child, getting out of bed on days when your spirit felt heavy was a victory. Showing up for yourself when no one else saw your struggle was a victory. Choosing hope when fear curled around your ankles was a victory. Continuing to pray when answers were delayed was a victory. Refusing to give up even when you wanted to was a victory. So today, let gratitude fill you. Not the gratitude that ignores what you lost, but the gratitude that celebrates what you kept. You kept your faith. You kept your dignity. You kept your courage. You kept your tenderness in a world that tries to make hearts hard. And above all, God kept you. Oh yes, He kept you. He kept you through unseen dangers. He kept you through silent battles. He kept you through troubled thoughts. He kept you through weariness. He kept you through the nights when sleep would not come. He kept you through the days when strength felt thin. This morning is a quiet altar on which you can lay your gratitude. It is a sacred space to reverence the miracle of being here alive, breathing, wiser than you were on November 1st. And gratitude, my dear one, is not just a feeling. It is a declaration. It is a recognition. It is a spiritual posture that says, I did not make it here alone, but by the grace of God I made it. Stand in that truth today. Let it warm you like sunlight on a winter morning. Let it settle into the deepest parts of you. For the gratitude you offer today becomes the strength you carry into tomorrow. You have reached the end of November, and that is a miracle worthy of reverence, worthy of reflection, worthy of praise. Now breathe deeply. The month is closing. You are still standing. And God is still good. There comes a morning in every soul's journey when God Himself lifts your chin with the gentleness of a father and the firmness of a commander, whispering, Rise, child, rise with strength, rise with courage. This morning, this last morning of November, is one of those holy mornings, a morning in which heaven calls your name with intention, urging you to stand taller than your fears, braver than your doubts, and stronger than the shadows that tried to cling to you in this fading month. For strength is not always born in loud places. It does not always burst forth like a trumpet or flash like lightning. Many times, strength is forged quietly, beaten into shape by days that demanded more than you thought you had to give. And courage, oh, courage is not the absence of trembling. Courage is the decision to step forward while the trembling still lives in your bones. This morning carries a sacred invitation for you to rise, not just from your bed, but from every place of heaviness that tried to claim you, from every disappointment that lingered too long, from every moment of smallness you allowed to shrink your spirit. God is calling you to rise from the ground of yesterday's worries into the promise of tomorrow's possibilities. There is a shift in the air around you. The kind of shift that happens when heaven touches earth, when God breathes upon the embers of your spirit and tells them to burn again. This November 30th sunrise is not ordinary. It is a trumpet wrapped in silence, calling you to remember who you are and whose you are. You are not the sum of your struggles. You are not the echo of your fears. You are not the reflection of your failures. You are a child of God, born with divine strength woven into the very fabric of your existence. But sometimes life with its sharp edges, its deep valleys, its unpredictable storms, tries to make you forget that. It tries to bend you under its weight. It whispers lies that echo louder than truth when your heart is weary. And yet here you are this morning, hearing God's voice rise above every other voice, saying, lift your head, unfold your shoulders, step back into the power I placed in you. This is not a suggestion. It is a calling, a divine summons. For God has watched you long enough walk with the slump of someone carrying too many unspoken burdens. He has watched your spirit sag under the weight of moments that were never meant to define you. He has seen you shrink when life told you to hide, when heartbreak told you to retreat, when disappointment told you to lower your expectations. But this morning, God is reclaiming you. He is reminding you. He is repositioning you. He is saying, stand up, not because everything is perfect, but because I am with you. Strength is not found in the absence of struggle. Strength is found in the courage to rise in spite of it. And courage is not always loud. Sometimes courage is the quiet decision to believe again, try again, pray again, hope again. Courage is whispering to your own soul, I will not stay where life tried to break me. This morning is your rising. This day is your declaration. This moment is your turning point. You do not need to know the details of tomorrow to rise today. You do not need to have every answer tucked neatly into place. You do not need to see the full path ahead. Rising happens now, right where you are, with whatever strength you have, even if that strength feels like the fragile flicker of a small flame. Because God does not require perfection to elevate you. He requires willingness. He requires openness. He requires the courage to trust Him more than your fear. Lift your head, child. Lift it above the discouragement that tried to shadow your month. Lift it above the anxieties that whispered lies in the night. Lift it above the memories that tried to anchor you to pain. There is a power in you that does not crumble in the face of trials. There is a fire in you that storms cannot extinguish. There is a resilience in you that life cannot subdue. And this morning, God is calling that resilience forward. He is calling you into a posture of victory, even before the victory appears. He is calling you to walk with the confidence of someone who knows the ending has already been written and it is written in your favor. He is calling you to move with the assurance that He, the Almighty, is your shield, your guide, your covering, your strength. Do you remember how many times you thought you would fall apart this month? And yet here you stand, still breathing, still hoping, still believing. That is courage. That is the God within you. When you rise this morning, rise with the awareness that you are not rising alone. God rises with you. His presence rises around you. His angels rise to guard you. His strength rises to reinforce you. Walk into this day like someone who is backed by heaven itself. Walk light, knowing God has cleared the path of unseen dangers. Walk bold, knowing fear cannot dictate your steps. Walk proud, knowing you are carrying the mark of God's favor. You are not created to crawl through life. You were not designed to live hunched beneath the weight of worry. You were formed with majesty in your bones and glory in your breath. So straighten your spine, unclench your hands, lift your gaze from the ground to the horizon God has prepared for you. Today is not the day to shrink. Today is not the day to hide. Today is not the day to forget your divine identity. Today is the day you rise. Today is the day you stand firm. Today is the day you reclaim strength that fatigue tried to steal. There is a lion in you that has slept long enough. There is a warrior in you that has waited patiently at the gates. There is a conqueror in you that God Himself breathed into existence. Let them rise. Rise with strength, because you have survived what was meant to break you. Rise with courage, because God has already gone ahead of you. Rise with purpose, because the next chapter of your life requires your full stature. And as you rise, remember this: God delights in your rising. He celebrates your courage. He rejoices in your strength. The heavens lean in when you take your place. So rise today. Rise fully. Rise boldly. Rise beautifully. For God has called you to stand, and when God calls you to rise, no force on earth can keep you low. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the Lord leans close, when heaven itself bends its ear toward the trembling earth, and a prayer rises like incense from the hearts of those who seek Him. On this final morning of November, on this day shaped by the quiet wisdom of endings, God invites us to pray a different kind of prayer, one not born merely of petitions, but of surrender, release, and divine protection. This prayer is not spoken at the surface level of the lips. No, it rises from the deep chamber of a heart that has lived through storms and still dares to beat with hope. It is the prayer of someone who has walked through shadowed valleys and yet refuses to stay there. It is the prayer of someone who has carried burdens so heavy the soul bent under their weight, yet somehow by God's mercy was never broken. On this day the Lord calls us to let go, truly let go of what has chained us to fear, to doubt, to loss, to anger, to guilt. There are chains you cannot see, yet you feel them every morning when your spirit wakes slower than your body. Chains that give no sound but are louder than thunder in the quiet of your thoughts. But God, in His boundless compassion, steps into this sacred moment and whispers, "Release it. Release all that was never meant for you. Release what drains you. Release what harms you. Release what lies to you. Release what cages your joy." For the same God who crafted the galaxies with His breath has the power to break every invisible chain you have carried for far too long. We stand in a world where troubles cling to the skin like dust, where grief sits down beside you as if invited, where memories you'd rather forget still knock at your door in the middle of the night. And yet God calls you into a prayer of cleansing, not as condemnation but as liberation. For He is not the God of bondage but the God of release. He is not the God of fear but the God of courage. He is not the God of confusion but the God of clarity and peace. And this morning He desires to sweep through the rooms of your soul like a holy wind, lifting the weight you've grown too accustomed to carrying. Some burdens you've held so long that you've convinced yourself they were part of your identity, but the Lord says they were never yours. God invites you to place every worry, every knot of anxiety, every silent heartbreak, every hidden disappointment into His hands. Those hands, oh those hands, strong enough to cradle the oceans, gentle enough to wipe your tears. And as you release what is heavy, He covers what is vulnerable. He draws a protective circle around you, not with chalk or stone, but with His own presence. For where God's presence stands, no shadow can make a home. Where God's presence stands, the enemy loses his footing. Where God's presence stands, even ancient wounds begin to heal. This is a prayer that calls for courage, for it is no easy thing to let go of what has lived with you, even if what has lived with you has been harming you. Some burdens feel familiar, and we humans often cling to the familiar, even when it hurts. But the Lord says on this day, "My child, you cannot carry the weight of dying seasons into the birth of new blessings. You must release what has expired." And in those simple words lies the power to transform a life. Release the toxic memory. Release the unkind voice that haunts your mind. Release the fear that keeps you small. Release the bitterness that poisons your hope. Release the people who walk with feet that crush your peace. As you pray this prayer of release, you make room, beautiful, holy room for God to protect, to restore, to renew. When a soul is cluttered with fear and worry, God's blessings have no place to land. But when the soul is emptied of what harms it, heaven finds a home. His protection begins with your surrender. His covering begins with your openness. His healing begins when you admit, "Lord, I cannot carry this anymore." And without judgment, without hesitation, without asking you to justify your pain, He takes it. He takes it all. The protection of God is not just a shield. It is a sanctuary. When He guards your life, He guards it from the inside out. He protects your mind so that lies cannot root themselves there. He protects your heart so that past wounds cannot reopen. He protects your path so that unseen dangers lose their power. He protects your home so that no spirit of chaos can enter. And He protects your sleep so that rest returns to you like a long-lost friend. When God covers you, the storms may still roar, but they cannot consume you. The winds may still blow, but they cannot break you. The night may still fall, but it cannot steal your dawn. This prayer, born on the last day of the month, is an act of holy exchange. You give God your burdens, and He gives you peace. You give Him your fear, and He gives you courage. You give Him your brokenness, and He gives you healing. You give Him your past, and He gives you a future. And though the trade feels uneven, His love insists upon it, for He is a Father who takes joy in lifting what is heavy from His children's hands. You are not too damaged for God to restore. You are not too lost for God to find. You are not too weary for God to strengthen. You are not too broken for God to rebuild. You are not too late for God's divine timing. And so on this day, this final morning of November, you step into a new kind of courage, the courage to release and the courage to trust. Trust that God knows the weight you carry. Trust that He sees the battles no one else sees. Trust that He hears the cries you never spoke aloud. Trust that He will not allow what harmed you yesterday to follow you into tomorrow. As you speak this prayer, feel the ground beneath you shift. Feel the weight lighten. Feel the fear loosen its grip. Feel the chains fall, silent but certain. Feel peace rise not as a visitor but as a resident in your soul. You are stepping into a new spiritual posture, one where you stand shielded, anchored, and held. And as the old falls away, God begins building something new, something holy, something strong, something meant for you. So breathe deeply, speak boldly, release completely, and trust fully. For the God who calls you to let go is the same God who lifts you up. The God who invites you to surrender is the same God who shelters you. The God who hears your prayer today is the same God who will carry you into tomorrow. His protection is your inheritance, and His peace is your portion. This is not the end of a month, it is the opening of a miracle. There is a moment quiet as dawn yet mighty as thunder, when a soul understands that God's blessings are not scattered like random seeds tossed into the wind. No, they are intentional, precise, lovingly placed in the soil of one's life by a divine hand that knows exactly what must grow and when. And on this final morning of November, when the old month turns its face toward rest and the new month waits at the threshold of time, God leans close and pours blessings over His children, not careless, not hurried, but deeply, deliberately, generously. These blessings are not limited to the boundaries of your own beating heart. They stretch outward, weaving themselves through the corners of your home, the breaths of your family, the secret hopes you cradle, the dreams you have hidden, and the future you have not yet dared to imagine. The Lord, in His infinite tenderness, does not bless you alone. He blesses your surroundings, your lineage, your loved ones, your footsteps, your unfolding days. Today, God's covering extends far and wide, like sunlight breaking through a long and weary night. He looks upon your home, not the walls, not the roof, not the bricks or the paint, but the spirit that lives within it. God sees the rooms that have held your laughter and absorbed your tears. He sees the kitchen where you have stood, weary yet grateful, preparing meals from what little you had. He sees the bed where you lay awake, wrestling with worries that would not loosen their grip. He sees the doors that have guarded your peace from the world's chaos. And with eyes filled with compassion, He wraps your home in His sheltering presence. Every doorway becomes a threshold of blessing. Every window becomes a frame for His light. Every room becomes a sanctuary of protection, as if God Himself has walked through and said, "Here my peace shall dwell." The battles you fought within your walls, the storms you weathered inside your rooms, the silent cries you whispered in the dark, He gathers them all and covers them with His mercy. For a protected home becomes a protected soul, and what God shelters no harm can consume. Then He turns His gaze toward your family, those near, those distant, those present, those remembered, those yet to come. God blesses your children, even the ones not born from your body but from your heart. He blesses them in their going out and their coming in. He places His hand upon their health, their safety, their decisions, their friendships, their identity, their purpose. He guards them from paths that lead to harm and guides them along roads paved with wisdom. He blesses your parents, whether they are alive or resting, whether you knew them well or barely at all. He blesses your siblings, your spouse, your companion, your circle, your tribe. For God understands that a heart cannot stand strong if the people it loves are scattered in fear or wounded in spirit. So he sends angels, yes, angels, to stand watch over your family's nights and to steady their footsteps during the day. And then, with a tenderness that feels like sunrise breaking over your own chest, God blesses your future. The future you have doubted. The future you have feared. The future you thought was slipping away. God walks ahead of you into December, clearing paths you cannot yet see, removing obstacles you have not yet encountered, and planting opportunities you have not yet imagined. He is there before you arrive. He is preparing the conversation you will need, the connection you will meet, the breakthrough you will witness. The Lord is shaping tomorrow with hands that know exactly how to soothe your wounds and expand your joy. Every fear that whispers, "You don't know what's coming," is silenced by the voice of God that says, "But I do, and I am already there." Your finances. Those delicate threads that often fray under stress are not forgotten by Him. God blesses the work of your hands, the creativity of your mind, the honesty of your effort. He stretches what you have. He multiplies what you thought was too little. He breathes abundance into your steps. Not the kind of abundance that brags or boasts, but the kind that steadies, sustains, and removes shame. He blesses your decisions so that you may choose wisely. He blesses your ideas so that they may grow fruitfully. He blesses your diligence so that it may be rewarded in due season. Your health, your precious vessel that carries your spirit through this world, is held in His gentle care. God blesses every organ, every cell, every breath. He blesses the places in your body that ache, the places that weaken, the places that frighten you with their unpredictability. His healing is not always sudden, but it is always present. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like a long-awaited exhale. Sometimes it arrives boldly, like a breakthrough you never saw coming. But God's blessing upon your health is steadfast. He calls your body a temple because He made it one. Your mind too, oh, that tender mind of yours that rehearses worries like a choir and revisits old pain as though flipping through familiar pages, He blesses it. He speaks peace into the corners where anxiety hides. He pours clarity into the foggy spaces where confusion lingers. He whispers comfort into the memories that still sting. He builds fortresses around your thoughts so that no lie, no fear, no whisper of the enemy can dismantle your joy. And your purpose, that sacred burning thread woven into your soul since the day you came into this world, is lifted into God's hands. He blesses your calling even if you have not yet recognized it, even if you've doubted your worth, even if you've lost your way. Purpose does not disappear just because a season becomes heavy. Purpose does not wither just because life grows dark. God keeps your purpose alive like a lamp that never runs out of oil. He blesses your gifts, the ones you know and the ones still hidden. He blesses your voice, your strength, your compassion, your resilience. He blesses your dreams, even the ones buried beneath disappointment. For nothing God places in your spirit is wasted. Today, God blesses not only what you are, but what you are becoming. And as these blessings unfurl around you, over your home, your family, your future, your finances, your health, your mind, your purpose, something extraordinary happens. Your spirit begins to rise, not quickly, not abruptly, but steadily, gently, like morning light climbing the sky. You begin to feel seen, not by the world perhaps, but by God. You begin to feel held, not by human hands, but by divine ones. You begin to feel strengthened, not by circumstances, but by the one who stands above them. These blessings are not temporary. They are not fragile, they are not uncertain. They are rooted in love older than time, stronger than sorrow, deeper than any wound you've carried. So on this sacred day, the closing of one month and the quiet birth of another, God pours blessings over every area of your life. Not because you earned them, not because you proved yourself, not because you never faltered, but because you are His. And to God that is reason enough. There comes a moment in every life when the soul grows tired of pretending it is unseen. When the heart, weary from carrying burdens too long in silence, whispers into the night, "Lord, do you still see me?" It is a question wrapped in trembling hope, born from days when prayers felt unanswered and nights were longer than the courage you carried. Yet on this final day of November, God answers with a certainty that shakes the dust from your doubts. "Yes, my child, I see you, I have always seen you." Dadaji. This assurance does not arrive like thunder or lightning. It comes softly, but it comes with power, a power that steadies the trembling hand, lifts the bowed head, and breathes breath into places where faith had grown thin. God's love, like the sunrise, does not rush, but neither does it fail. It simply arrives faithfully, morning after morning, warming every corner of your life that has grown cold. You may have walked through a month that stretched you too thin. You may have stood in rooms where your name was forgotten, where your kindness was unseen, where your struggle was misunderstood. You may have cried tears so quiet they left no echo for human ears to hear. Yet not one of those tears slipped past the eyes of the Almighty. Not one breath of your suffering escaped His notice. For God keeps watch over your life with a tenderness deeper than the ocean, and a devotion stronger than the storms you've survived. There is a loneliness that settles on a person when they feel invisible. It is not the loneliness of being alone. It is the loneliness of carrying battles no one else knows you are fighting. It is the loneliness of waking up each day wondering if your efforts matter, if your prayers rise beyond the ceiling, if your presence changes anything in this vast spinning world. But God steps into that loneliness like a lantern in the dark and says, "I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. There is no forgetting you, no overlooking you, no losing sight of you." He sees the quiet strength you use to get through your days. He sees the way you push forward even when your spirit feels fragile. He sees the forgiveness you extend when bitterness would be easier. He sees the hope you hold on to when circumstances try to snatch it away. He sees you choosing faith over fear, even when fear feels closer. He sees you showing up for others while praying someone will show up for you. He sees you trying your best even when your best feels small. And God is moved by it all. There is a humility in being seen by God, not the kind that makes you shrink, but the kind that makes you rise. To be seen by God is to be reminded that you matter, that your life is stitched into His divine tapestry, that your journey is a story He Himself is writing. You are not abandoned in a wilderness. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are being led gently, patiently, purposefully. On this day, God wants you to know that He has not forgotten the promises He whispered into your spirit years ago, promises you may have buried under disappointment or delay. He has not forgotten the dream you laid at His feet, trembling with fear that it was too big for you. He has not forgotten the desire of your heart that you never told a single soul. God has not forgotten what He spoke over your life, even if you no longer remember the sound of it. You may feel overlooked by men, but you are handpicked by God. You may feel delayed by circumstances, but you are right on time in the divine calendar. You may feel diminished by your failures, but God sees the gold beneath the dust. He has not forgotten you when blessings seem slow to arrive. He has not forgotten you when prayers took too long to be answered. He has not forgotten you when others received what you had been praying for. He does not forget the seeds you've sown, the fights you survived, the faith you held on to by a single shaking thread. God remembers. When you reached out with kindness no one acknowledged, He remembered. When you forgave someone who never apologized, He remembered. When you prayed for others while you were hurting, He remembered. When you stood upright under the weight of burdens that would have broken a weaker soul, He remembered. And His remembering is not passive. No, God's remembering is active, alive, unfolding even now. When God remembers you, movements happen in heaven, paths open on earth, chains break, doors unlock, people are stirred, opportunities shift, blessings begin to gather themselves around your life like a river returning to its course. God's remembrance is the birthplace of miracles. You may have looked at your life this month and wondered if your time had passed. if your story had lost its way, if your prayer was too simple or too late. But hear this truth deeply: God is never too late. His memory is not fragile. His timing is not uncertain. He does not leave his children in the shadows of delay. He calls them gently into the light of divine timing. The very breath in your body this morning is evidence that his plan for you is still in motion. The sun rising is God's whisper saying, I am not finished with you. The peace that finds you unexpectedly is his reminder that he has not walked away. Even the longing in your heart is a sign that God is still shaping something within you, something beautiful, something purposeful, something aligned with his promise. You are seen in your struggle. You are held in your sorrow. You are carried through your weakness. You are protected in your vulnerability. You are valued in your becoming. And even more, you are loved. Not ordinary love. Not conditional, breakable, fearful love. But God love, steady as mountains, warm as firelight, vast as night skies. This love does not withdraw when you falter. It does not dim when you doubt. It does not abandon you when you grow weary. It surrounds you, strengthens you, shelters you, and calls you forward into the life God already sees unfolding. So on this last morning of November, lift your chin, not in pride, but in recognition of who watches over you. Walk with a new courage, not because the path is easy, but because the one who guides you is faithful. Rest in the quiet certainty that nothing in your life escapes God's eye and nothing in your future escapes his plan. You are not forgotten. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You are God's beloved. And he is still writing your story. There is a sacred hush that settles over the final day of a month, a quiet pause between what has been and what is yet to be. It is not the hush of emptiness, but the hush of preparation, as though heaven itself is holding its breath, waiting for your next step. And on this morning, this November 30th morning, God sends a blessing that stretches forward, like a gentle hand guiding you into December with certainty, with grace, and with an unshakable promise. God does not merely bless today. He blesses the tomorrow that waits for you, the December that is rising, the future that is already unfolding under his eternal watch. December stands like a doorway, and God longs for you to enter it, not with trembling, not with fear, not with the weight of yesterday's battles clinging to your shoulders, but with a spirit washed in peace and a heart strengthened by divine assurance. The end of November is not a full stop, it is a comma, a breath mark, a transition between chapters written by a hand that never falters. God is the author of your story, and he is not finished, not with your growth, not with your healing, not with your breakthroughs, not with the blessings that have your name etched upon them. The Lord whispers into this final morning, walk into December with me. And what a gentle, powerful invitation that is. Walk with him, not ahead of him, not behind him, not beside your fears or your doubts, but with him. He is already in the days you have not yet lived, clearing paths you have not yet walked, preparing victories you have not yet imagined. While you were worrying about the future, God was shaping it. While you were second-guessing your steps, God was establishing them. While you were wondering whether December would bring joy or sorrow, God was already weaving grace into every single dawn. He blesses this coming month in ways you cannot yet comprehend. He blesses it with opportunities disguised as gentle nudges. He blesses it with protection so strong that danger will lose its shadow around you. He blesses it with peace that sinks deep into your bones. Peace that does not depend on circumstance. Peace that does not break under pressure. This peace is not fragile. It is fierce. A peace that stands like a lion between you and every fear that tries to rise. A peace that wraps itself around your nights so that sleep becomes a friend again. A peace that carries you during the day so that anxiety cannot cling to your breath. And God blesses December with strength. Not the kind of strength that exhausts itself with effort, but the kind that rises naturally from within like a wellspring. Strength that helps you stand when life tries to push you down. Strength that whispers you can when everything around you says you can't. Strength that repairs the cracks in your confidence. Strength that restores the shine to your spirit. Strength that reminds you that you have survived every single day you once thought you could not bear. The strength God gives does not boast, it simply sustains. It simply lifts. It simply carries. He blesses December with clarity. After seasons of confusion, after months where you walked in circles mentally and emotionally, clarity is coming. The kind of clarity that untangles knots, that reveals truth, that quiets the voices of doubt, that points your feet toward the path designed specifically for you. There will be decisions in December that once frightened you, but God will bring wisdom so steady and gentle that the answers will not feel like puzzles but like revelations. And perhaps most beautifully, God blesses December with renewal. Renewal of joy, the kind of joy that bubbles up from a place untouched by sorrow. Renewal of purpose, the understanding that your life is meaningful, valuable, and necessary. Renewal of faith, the kind of faith that holds its ground even when the winds roar. Renewal of hope, the hope that sees beyond the visible, the hope that survives hardship, the hope that says better things are not just possible, they are promised. This blessing spills forward like a river from November into December, and it does not stop at the first day of the new month. It continues, flowing into the rest of your days, your weeks, your seasons. God does not give temporary blessings. No, He gives blessing that roots itself deeply, blessing that walks beside you, blessing that grows with you, blessing that strengthens even when you are unaware of its presence. And He blesses your December with unexpected miracles. Miracles that slip into your life softly without announcement. Miracles that arrive disguised as ordinary moments at first. Miracles that remind you that heaven is closer than you think, that God is more involved than you realize, that nothing you face is outside His reach. A person you meet may be an answer to a prayer. A closed door may be a divine redirection. A small victory may be the beginning of a greater breakthrough. As you stand on this threshold between months, God wants you to know that December is not something to fear. It is something to welcome, because He has prepared it for you, shaped it for you, designed it for your growth and your good. You are not stepping into uncertainty, you are stepping into divine intention. Every sunrise in December will carry His signature. Every night will carry His peace. Every moment will carry an opportunity for you to see how deeply, how fiercely, how faithfully He loves you. And so you rise today with your face toward the future, not because you know what it holds, but because you know who holds it. You step into the new month, not because you feel strong, but because you trust the one who strengthens you. You enter December not because you have every answer, but because you serve a God who is the answer. You may have stumbled through parts of November. You may have crawled through some days. You may have cried through some nights. But you are walking into December with the blessing of a God who wastes nothing, no tear, no trial, no delay, no moment of confusion. Everything you endured this month becomes the soft soil from which the blessings of next month will bloom. So breathe deeply. Let your shoulders relax. Release the remnants of yesterday. Lift your spirit to meet what is coming. And truly know that you are not entering December alone. God goes before you. God walks with you. God watches over you. God prepares the way for you. This blessing is not a wish. It is a promise. December will not break you. December will build you. December will not harm you. December will hold you. December will not drain you. December will bless you. And through it all, God will be with you, faithful, steady, loving, and true. You are stepping into a miracle, beloved, and the miracle is stepping into you.